Right now, the bailout plan is being ripped apart by lawmakers on the left and the right and the center. This being an election year, the problem couldn't have presented itself at a worse time for Congress. But Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke defended the plan by saying the consequences of doing nothing will make voters even more upset.
Stabilization of our financial system is an essential precondition for economic recovery. I urge the Congress to act quickly to address the grave threats to financial stability that we currently face. For its part, the Federal Open Market Committee will monitor economic and financial developments carefully and will act as needed to promote sustainable economic growth and price stability.
Well, at least one congressman was not convinced. Representative Ron Paul had some sharp words for Bernanke. Take a listen.
Are in price fixing again. You say that part of your mandate is price stability, but I hardly think price stability comes by price fixing. But the idea of you taking an illiquid asset, for the most part, most illiquid assets are illiquid because they're not worth anything.
And Ron Paul joining us now from Capitol Hill. Congressman, good to see you again. Thanks for being on Scoreboard.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
Price fixing. We had our fill of price fixing back in the 70s under Richard Nixon. You say that's what this plan is all about.
Yeah, and since he's the expert on the Depression, supposedly, I brought up the Depression, and they price fixed in. They kept wages high, and they also wanted to keep farm products high to the point where they'd plow crops under in order to keep the prices high, and yet people were starving. And he agreed with me. He says he was opposed to that and thought that was wrong. But what I was saying is he's doing exactly the same thing, because only the market can set prices. And but he's buying up all these assets, but they're going to have the experts come in and tell him what they're really worth.
The experts who told us that they were worth a lot before.
Yeah, the same ones. But that's not going to.
All right, but Congressman, we are in a terrible fix right now. I'm sure you'd agree, and we can argue for a long time about why we're in that fix. But we had on Warren Buffett earlier on the day here on Fox Business, and he just explained how desperate the situation is. I want to play a clip from him and then get your response.
The U.S. Treasury sold some 7-day, $40 billion of 7-day Treasury bills at a yield of 1/20th of 1%. That's 5 basis points, 0.05. Now, what you were saying, that is the most liquid, the safest investment there is. And,
right.
And that means that you're 6 basis points away from it being the most attractive thing that the American public can do with their money, and the safest thing is to stick it under their mattress.
Paul, I want to get your response, but first we have to go. Harry Reid is talking about the proposal that we have within us here, Senator Reid.
He talks a little bit about how we got into this mess and his vision for getting out of this mess. I would hope that he would explain why an economy that he's insisted just a matter of a couple weeks ago was fundamentally sound suddenly needs an influx of $700 billion in taxpayer money, and why we need it all right now. I would hope that President Bush would explain who should pay for his plan and how he will protect taxpayers' involuntary investments. He must explain why he believes this bailout should go only to Wall Street and how he plans to help Main Street, homeowners, middle-class families. And he must tell the American people whether he supports an economic recovery package to help the middle class. Here's what the President must not do. He must not try to blame or bully Congress. He must not pretend that getting this done today is more important than getting it done right. He must not pretend that it is our job to rubber stamp what appears at this stage to be a flawed program. We will not be stampeded into approving a plan that gives Wall Street a blank check but sticks taxpayers with the bill. And in bringing our caucus to...
Okay, that is Senator Harry Reid talking about what he thinks the president should and should not say tonight. Ron Paul is still with us from Congress. We heard Warren Buffett explain the urgency of the problem. Clearly, the president has to really talk about and explain clearly the fix that we're in right now. But where does he go from there, Congressman?
Well, the president doesn't have much he can do about it, and even Bernanke doesn't. He says we have to pass this package for stability, but they've already pumped $700 billion in there, asking for another $700 billion. And, you know, maybe if you get a day or two of stabilization of the markets, long term, it is disastrous for the dollar. So how many times can you pump in $700 billion that you don't have without destroying the dollar? So,
but what